Hello and welcome. Today, we'll delve into the life and legacy of John F. Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States. From his early years to his rise in politics, let's explore the journey of this iconic figure. John Fitzgerald Kennedy, often referred to by his initials JFK, was born on May 29, 1917, in Brookline, Massachusetts. He was the second son of Joseph P. Kennedy Sr. and Rose Fitzgerald Kennedy, both of whom came from prominent Irish Catholic families. Joseph Kennedy was a successful businessman and served as the U.S. ambassador to the United Kingdom, while Rose was a dedicated mother who instilled a strong sense of public service in her children. Growing up, John was surrounded by his 8 siblings in a competitive and ambitious household. Kennedy's early education took place at various private schools, including the Dexter School in Brookline and the Canterbury School in New Milford, Connecticut. In 1931, he enrolled at the Choate School, an elite boarding school in Wallingford, Connecticut. Despite suffering from various health issues, including severe back problems and frequent illnesses, Kennedy excelled academically and was an active participant in sports and extracurricular activities. After graduating from Choate in 1935, Kennedy briefly attended Princeton University before transferring to Harvard University in 1936. At Harvard, he majored in government and international relations, laying the foundation for his future political career. Kennedy was an active student, participating in various clubs and societies. His senior thesis, Appeasement in Munich, examined the failures of British foreign policy leading up to World War II and was later published as a book titled Why England Slept. Kennedy's time at Harvard was marked by his involvement in the school's social scene and his growing interest in politics. His father's position as ambassador to the United Kingdom allowed him to travel extensively in Europe, gaining first-hand experience of international affairs. These travels had a profound impact on his worldview and aspirations. Upon graduating from Harvard in 1940, Kennedy enrolled in the Stanford Graduate School of Business, but soon left to join the U.S. Navy in response to the outbreak of World War II. He was assigned to the Pacific Theater, where he commanded a patrol torpedo boat, PT-109. In August 1943, his boat was rammed by a Japanese destroyer, splitting it in two. Kennedy's leadership and bravery in rescuing his crew members earned him the Navy and Marine Corps Medal, as well as a Purple Heart for injuries sustained during the incident. Kennedy's wartime heroism and the connections he made during his father's ambassadorship set the stage for his entry into politics. In 1946, he ran for a seat in the U.S. House of Representatives, representing Massachusetts' 11th Congressional District. Kennedy campaigned on a platform of post-war economic growth and veterans issues, securing a decisive victory. He served 3 terms in the House, where he built a reputation as a moderate Democrat with a keen interest in foreign policy. In 1952, Kennedy set his sights on the U.S. Senate, challenging incumbent Republican Senator Henry Cabot Lodge Jr. The campaign was intense and closely contested, but Kennedy's charisma, compelling public speaking skills, and support from his influential family helped him secure a narrow victory. His younger brother, Robert F. Kennedy, played a crucial role in managing his campaign, showcasing the tight-knit nature of the Kennedy family. As a senator, Kennedy continued to focus on foreign policy and national security issues. He was an advocate for strong defense measures and took a keen interest in the geopolitical dynamics of the Cold War. In 1956, he made an unsuccessful bid for the Democratic vice presidential nomination, which ultimately went to Estes Kefauver. Despite this setback, the national exposure he gained during the convention raised his profile and set the stage for his presidential ambitions. Kennedy's tenure in the Senate was also marked by his efforts to address domestic issues, including labor rights, education, and civil rights. He supported various legislative measures aimed at improving the welfare of American workers and expanding access to education. His commitment to civil rights, though cautious compared to later years, began to take shape during his Senate career. In 1953, Kennedy married Jacqueline Lee Bouvier, a sophisticated and intelligent young woman who complemented his public persona. The couple quickly became one of America's most glamorous and admired pairs, with Jackie playing a key role in shaping JFK's image and supporting his political career. They had 4 children, though only 2, Caroline and John Jr., survived infancy. By the late 1950s, Kennedy's sights were firmly set on the presidency. His youthful energy, charisma, and eloquence made him a formidable candidate. In January 1960, he formally announced his candidacy for the Democratic nomination for president. His campaign emphasized themes of change, progress, and a new vision for America. Kennedy's Catholic faith, initially seen as a potential hindrance, became less of an issue as he effectively addressed concerns about the separation of church and state. Kennedy's campaign was masterfully managed, with his team leveraging television and other media to their advantage. The pivotal moment came during the televised debates against Republican nominee Richard Nixon. Kennedy's calm demeanor, polished appearance, and articulate responses contrasted sharply with Nixon's haggard and tense presentation. These debates are widely credited with helping Kennedy gain a crucial edge in the race. John F. Kennedy, Presidential Campaign and Election. In the early 1960s, the United States was a nation poised for change. The post-World War II era had brought about significant economic growth and technological advancements, but it was also a time of social upheaval and geopolitical tension. Against this backdrop, John F. Kennedy emerged as a dynamic and charismatic candidate ready to lead the country into a new era. Kennedy formally announced his candidacy for the Democratic nomination for president on January 2, 1960. His campaign was marked by its focus on themes of progress, innovation, and a forward-looking vision for America. He championed the idea of a new frontier, a concept that encompassed not only the exploration of space, but also advancements in science, education, and civil rights. Kennedy's youthful energy and optimism resonated with many Americans, particularly younger voters who were eager for a break from the more conservative leadership of the 1950s. The Democratic primaries saw Kennedy facing off against several prominent opponents, including Senate Majority Leader Lyndon B. Johnson, Senator Hubert Humphrey, and Adlai Stevenson, the party's nominee in 1952 and 1956. Despite strong competition, Kennedy's campaign was well organized and strategically focused on key states. His success in the West Virginia primary, a state with a predominantly Protestant population, demonstrated his ability to appeal to a broad electorate and dispelled concerns about his Catholic faith. A pivotal moment in Kennedy's campaign came with his selection of Lyndon B. Johnson as his running mate. Johnson, a seasoned politician from Texas, brought regional balance and political experience to the ticket. The Kennedy-Johnson ticket aimed to unite the party and broaden its appeal, particularly in the South, where Kennedy's support was weaker. The general election campaign against Republican nominee Richard Nixon was intense and closely contested. Nixon, the incumbent vice president, was a formidable opponent with extensive political experience. However, Kennedy's campaign effectively utilized the emerging medium of television to reach voters in a new and impactful way. The televised debates between Kennedy and Nixon were a turning point in the campaign. Kennedy's calm demeanor, polished appearance, and articulate responses contrasted sharply with Nixon's haggard and tense presentation. These debates are widely credited with helping Kennedy gain a crucial edge in the race. On November 8, 1960, John F. Kennedy narrowly defeated Richard Nixon in one of the closest elections in American history. He won the popular vote by a slim margin, securing 49.7% to Nixon's 49.6%, and achieved a more decisive victory in the Electoral College. Kennedy's victory was seen as a mandate for change and a new direction for the country. At 43, he was the youngest person ever elected to the presidency and the first Roman Catholic to hold the office. Kennedy's inauguration on January 20th, 1961, was a historic and memorable event. His inaugural address, delivered on a cold and clear day, is remembered as one of the most inspiring speeches in American history. With the famous line, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country," Kennedy called on Americans to take an active role in shaping their nation's future. He emphasized the importance of civic duty, global cooperation, and the pursuit of peace and freedom. As president, Kennedy faced numerous challenges both domestically and internationally. One of his first major tests was the Bay of Pigs invasion in April 1961. The invasion, a CIA-led operation to overthrow Cuban leader Fidel Castro, ended in failure and was a significant embarrassment for the new administration. Kennedy took full responsibility for the debacle, which bolstered his public image as a leader willing to accept accountability for his administration's actions. In the realm of foreign policy, Kennedy's administration was marked by a series of high-stakes confrontations with the Soviet Union, reflecting the intense geopolitical tensions of the Cold War. One of the most critical moments came in October 1962 with the Cuban Missile Crisis. The discovery of Soviet ballistic missiles in Cuba, just 90 miles from the U.S. coast, brought the world to the brink of nuclear war. Kennedy's administration responded with a naval blockade and intense diplomatic negotiations. After 13 tense days, Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev agreed to remove the missiles in exchange for a U.S. pledge not to invade Cuba and the secret removal of American missiles from Turkey. The resolution of the crisis was seen as a major victory for Kennedy and demonstrated his ability to navigate complex international issues. Kennedy was also deeply committed to advancing civil rights. He proposed comprehensive civil rights legislation aimed at ending racial segregation and discrimination. His administration supported the Freedom Riders, who challenged segregation in the South, and he sent federal troops to protect James Meredith, the first African American student to enroll at the University of Mississippi. Kennedy's efforts laid the groundwork for the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which was passed after his death under President Lyndon B. Johnson. On the domestic front, Kennedy launched ambitious initiatives to improve the economy, education, and healthcare. His New Frontier program sought to address issues such as poverty, inequality, and technological advancement. He established the Peace Corps, which sent American volunteers abroad to assist with education, health, and development projects in developing countries. Kennedy also set a national goal to land a man on the moon before the end of the decade, leading to the successful Apollo missions and the moon landing in 1969. Despite these successes, Kennedy's presidency was not without its challenges and controversies. His administration faced criticism for its handling of the Vietnam War, which was escalating during his tenure. Kennedy authorized an increase in American military advisors in South Vietnam, setting the stage for deeper U.S. involvement in the conflict. The war would become a significant and divisive issue for the nation in the years following his presidency. Kennedy's personal life also attracted public attention and scrutiny. His marriage to Jacqueline Kennedy was admired by many, and the couple's glamorous image contributed to the mythos of Camelot, a term often used to describe the Kennedy administration. However, Kennedy's numerous extramarital affairs and health issues, which were kept largely hidden from the public, painted a more complex picture of the man behind the presidency. The presidency and major events. John F. Kennedy's presidency was marked by a series of significant events and initiatives that had lasting impacts on both domestic and international fronts. His vision for America, encapsulated in the term New Frontier, aimed to address the pressing challenges of the time, including economic inequality, civil rights, and the Cold War. One of Kennedy's early focuses was on economic policy. He inherited a sluggish economy with high unemployment and inflation. To stimulate growth, Kennedy implemented a series of measures, including tax cuts and increased government spending on infrastructure projects. These policies, along with a focus on scientific research and technological innovation, aimed to boost productivity and create jobs. Kennedy also established the Area Redevelopment Administration, which targeted economically distressed regions, providing them with financial assistance to spur development. In addition to economic reforms, Kennedy placed a strong emphasis on education and healthcare. He proposed the establishment of Medicare, a national health insurance program for the elderly, though it would not be enacted until after his presidency. Kennedy also advocated for federal aid to education, recognizing the importance of a well-educated populace in maintaining America's competitive edge. His administration increased funding for public schools, particularly in impoverished areas, and promoted programs to support higher education. The space race was another significant aspect of Kennedy's presidency. In a speech before Congress in May 1961, he set a bold goal, landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to Earth before the end of the decade. This ambitious objective was driven by the desire to demonstrate American technological superiority over the Soviet Union, which had taken an early lead in the space race with the launch of Sputnik and the successful manned flight of Yuri Gagarin. Kennedy's commitment to space exploration led to the establishment of NASA's Apollo program, which ultimately achieved the moon landing in 1969, fulfilling his vision and solidifying America's position as a leader in space exploration. Kennedy's foreign policy was dominated by Cold War tensions and a series of high-stakes confrontations with the Soviet Union. The Cuban Missile Crisis in October 1962 was perhaps the most dangerous moment of his presidency. The discovery of Soviet ballistic missiles in Cuba posed a direct threat to U.S. national security. Kennedy's decision to impose a naval blockade around Cuba and demand the removal of the missiles led to a tense standoff with Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev. The crisis brought the world to the brink of nuclear war, but Kennedy's careful diplomacy and willingness to negotiate a peaceful resolution ultimately defused the situation. The successful resolution of the Cuban Missile Crisis was seen as a significant victory for Kennedy and demonstrated his capability to manage international crises. Another major foreign policy initiative was the establishment of the Peace Corps in 1961. The Peace Corps aimed to promote world peace and friendship by sending American volunteers to developing countries to assist with education, health, and development projects. The program reflected Kennedy's belief in the importance of global cooperation and the role of the United States in supporting the growth and stability of emerging nations. The Peace Corps became one of Kennedy's most enduring legacies, with thousands of volunteers contributing to humanitarian efforts around the world. Kennedy's commitment to civil rights was a defining feature of his presidency, though his approach was often cautious and pragmatic. He faced significant resistance from Southern segregationists and had to balance his support for civil rights with political realities. Nevertheless, Kennedy took important steps to advance racial equality. He appointed Thurgood Marshall, the first African American to the Supreme Court, to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. He also supported the Freedom Riders, civil rights activists who challenged segregation in the South, and sent federal marshals to protect them. In June 1963, Kennedy delivered a landmark address on civil rights, calling for comprehensive legislation to end segregation and discrimination. His speech, which highlighted the moral and legal imperatives for racial equality, marked a turning point in his administration's approach to civil rights. He proposed the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which aimed to outlaw segregation in public places, ban employment discrimination, and ensure equal voting rights. Although the bill faced significant opposition in Congress, it laid the groundwork for the landmark legislation that would be passed under President Lyndon B. Johnson. Despite his achievements, Kennedy's presidency was not without its challenges and controversies. The Bay of Pigs invasion in April 1961 was a significant early setback. The CIA-led operation to overthrow Cuban leader Fidel Castro ended in failure, with many of the U.S.-backed Cuban exiles captured or killed. The debacle was a major embarrassment for Kennedy, who took full responsibility for the failed invasion. The incident strained U.S.-Cuban relations and pushed Castro closer to the Soviet Union, setting the stage for the Cuban Missile Crisis. Kennedy also faced criticism for his handling of the Vietnam War. Although the full-scale U.S. involvement would escalate after his assassination, Kennedy's administration significantly increased the number of American military advisors in South Vietnam and supported the South Vietnamese government against the communist insurgency. The war would become increasingly controversial and divisive, leading to widespread protests and political turmoil in the years following Kennedy's presidency. In addition to his political and policy challenges, Kennedy's personal life continued to attract public attention. His marriage to Jacqueline Kennedy was admired for its glamour and elegance, but his numerous extramarital affairs and health issues were sources of private turmoil. Despite these personal flaws, Kennedy's charm, wit, and eloquence made him a beloved figure for many Americans. Tragically, Kennedy's presidency was cut short on November 22, 1963, when he was assassinated in Dallas, Texas. While riding in an open convertible through Dealey Plaza, he was shot by a sniper. Kennedy was rushed to Parkland Memorial Hospital, but doctors were unable to save him. He was pronounced dead at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, just over an hour after the shooting. The news of his assassination stunned the nation and the world, plunging America into deep mourning. Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson was sworn in as the 36th President of the United States aboard Air Force One just hours after Kennedy's death. The assassination led to widespread grief and a wave of conspiracy theories about the circumstances of Kennedy's death. The Warren Commission, established to investigate the assassination, concluded that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone in shooting Kennedy. Despite the commission's findings, debates and speculations about potential conspiracies continue to this day. Kennedy's death marked the end of an era of optimism and the beginning of a period of profound social and political upheaval. His vision for America and his call to service inspired a generation of Americans to engage in public life and strive for a better future. The achievements of his administration, from the establishment of the Peace Corps to the progress on civil rights, left a lasting legacy that continues to shape the nation. The legacy and impact. John F. Kennedy's assassination on November 22, 1963, left an indelible mark on the United States and the world. His death not only ended a promising presidency but also profoundly affected the course of American history. The legacy of JFK is multifaceted, encompassing his contributions to civil rights, his handling of the Cold War, and his inspirational vision for the future of the nation. In the immediate aftermath of Kennedy's assassination, the nation was plunged into a period of deep mourning. Millions of Americans watched the televised funeral, which included a poignant procession through the streets of Washington, D.C. The image of Jacqueline Kennedy stoically walking with her children and the eternal flame she lit at his gravesite in Arlington National Cemetery became iconic symbols of the nation's grief and resilience. One of Kennedy's most enduring legacies is his commitment to civil rights. Although his presidency was marked by cautious approaches due to the political climate, his administration laid the groundwork for significant advancements in racial equality. The Civil Rights Act of 1964, which was passed under President Lyndon B. Johnson, drew heavily on the principles and proposals Kennedy had advocated. This landmark legislation outlawed segregation in public places, banned employment discrimination, and sought to ensure equal voting rights, fundamentally transforming American society. Kennedy's vision for space exploration also left a lasting impact. His bold goal of landing a man on the moon galvanized the nation and led to the successful Apollo missions. The moon landing in 1969 was a testament to American ingenuity and determination, fulfilling Kennedy's promise and inspiring generations of scientists and explorers. The space race also spurred technological advancements and fostered international cooperation in the field of space exploration. In foreign policy, Kennedy's handling of the Cuban Missile Crisis remains a textbook example of crisis management and diplomacy. His ability to navigate the delicate situation and achieve a peaceful resolution without resorting to nuclear war demonstrated his commitment to maintaining global peace. The establishment of the Nuclear Test Ban Treaty in 1963, which prohibited atmospheric nuclear tests, was another significant achievement that underscored his dedication to reducing the threat of nuclear conflict. Kennedy's establishment of the Peace Corps reflected his belief in the importance of global cooperation and humanitarian efforts. The program has since sent over 240,000 volunteers to more than 140 countries, promoting education, health, and economic development. The Peace Corps embodies Kennedy's vision of Americans contributing to the betterment of the world, fostering goodwill and mutual understanding. Domestically, Kennedy's economic policies helped set the stage for the economic prosperity of the 1960s. His administration's focus on tax cuts, infrastructure investment, and technological innovation contributed to a period of sustained economic growth. The Area Redevelopment Administration and other initiatives aimed at addressing poverty and regional disparities reflected his commitment to creating a more equitable society. Kennedy's influence extended beyond policy and governance. He also reshaped the American cultural and political landscape. His charisma, eloquence, and youthful vigor captivated the public and set a new standard for presidential leadership. The media-savvy nature of his campaign and presidency transformed how politicians interacted with the public, emphasizing the importance of image and communication in modern politics. The concept of Camelot, popularized by Jacqueline Kennedy in the aftermath of his death, encapsulated the romanticized view of Kennedy's presidency. The idea of a vibrant, idealistic administration striving for a better future resonated with many Americans and became a symbol of lost potential. While the reality of his presidency was more complex, the myth of Camelot has endured as a powerful narrative of hope and inspiration. The impact of Kennedy's assassination on American society was profound. It marked the beginning of a tumultuous period in U.S. history, characterized by political assassinations, social upheaval, and a growing distrust of government institutions. The deaths of Martin Luther King Jr., Robert F. Kennedy, and other prominent figures in the years following JFK's assassination contributed to a sense of instability and loss. Despite the controversies and challenges of his presidency, John F. Kennedy remains a revered figure in American history. His call to service, articulated in his inaugural address, continues to inspire individuals to engage in public life and strive for a better future. The institutions and programs he established, such as the Peace Corps and the space program, have had lasting impacts and continue to reflect his vision for a more just, peaceful, and innovative world. Kennedy's life and legacy are commemorated in various ways. The John F. Kennedy Library Museum in Boston serves as a repository of his records and a center for scholarship on his life and presidency. Numerous schools, public buildings, and streets across the country bear his name, honoring his contributions to the nation. His speeches, particularly the inaugural address, are studied and quoted for their rhetorical power and enduring relevance. In conclusion, John F. Kennedy's life and presidency were marked by ambition, challenges, and significant achievements. His vision for America, his dedication to public service, and his handling of critical issues during a turbulent time have left an enduring legacy. While his presidency was tragically cut short, the impact of his leadership continues to be felt, inspiring future generations to pursue progress, justice, and peace. The eerie parallels between the assassinations of Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy. The assassinations of Presidents Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy are two of the most shocking and consequential events in American history. Despite occurring nearly a century apart, the circumstances and details surrounding their deaths have fascinated historians and the public alike due to the numerous uncanny parallels. These similarities have given rise to various theories and speculations, adding a layer of mystery to these tragic events. Dates and names. Abraham Lincoln was elected to Congress in 1846, and John F. Kennedy was elected to Congress in 1946, exactly 100 years apart. Lincoln was elected president in 1860, while Kennedy was elected president in 1960, once again exactly 100 years apart. Both men were succeeded by vice presidents named Johnson, Andrew Johnson, who was born in 1808, and Lyndon B. Johnson, born in 1908. Assassinations. Lincoln was assassinated on April 14, 1865, and Kennedy was assassinated on November 22, 1963. Both were shot on a Friday, and both were in the presence of their wives when they were killed. Lincoln was shot in Ford's Theater, and Kennedy was shot while riding in a Lincoln car manufactured by Ford. The assassins. Lincoln was assassinated by John Wilkes Booth, a Southern sympathizer and actor, while Kennedy was assassinated by Lee Harvey Oswald, a former U.S. Marine who had defected to the Soviet Union. Both assassins were known by their three names, each consisting of 15 letters in total: John Wilkes Booth and Lee Harvey Oswald. Booth ran from a theater to a warehouse, a barn, where he was eventually cornered and killed, while Oswald ran from a warehouse, the Texas School Book Depository, to a theater where he was arrested. Political and social contexts. Both presidents were deeply involved in issues of civil rights. Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation and led the nation through the Civil War, striving to end slavery. Kennedy was a strong advocate for civil rights legislation, supporting the desegregation of the South and proposing comprehensive civil rights laws. Both men faced significant opposition and threats throughout their presidencies, with highly polarized political climates during their times in office. Aftermath and succession. Both presidents were succeeded by Southern Democrats named Johnson who were previously senators. Andrew Johnson faced significant challenges during Reconstruction, dealing with the aftermath of the Civil War and the reintegration of Southern states. Lyndon B. Johnson pushed forward with Kennedy's civil rights agenda, resulting in the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Locations and destinations. Lincoln was shot in Ford's Theater and was carried across the street to the Peterson House, where he died. Kennedy was shot in a Lincoln car and rushed to Parkland Memorial Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. Both presidents were laid to rest in places that became iconic symbols of their legacies: Lincoln at the Lincoln Tomb in Springfield, Illinois, and Kennedy at Arlington National Cemetery with an eternal flame marking his gravesite. Historical impact. The deaths of both presidents had profound and lasting impacts on the nation. Lincoln's assassination came just days after the end of the Civil War, plunging the nation into further uncertainty during Reconstruction. Kennedy's assassination occurred during the height of the Cold War, a time of great tension and change in American society. Both assassinations led to numerous conspiracy theories and debates about the true circumstances surrounding their deaths, contributing to a sense of enduring mystery. While some of these parallels may be coincidental, they have captured the public imagination and added to the enduring legacy of both presidents. The eerie similarities between their lives and deaths serve as a reminder of the extraordinary and sometimes tragic nature of history. As we conclude our journey through the life and legacy of John F. Kennedy, we reflect on the profound impact he had on America and the world. His vision, leadership, and enduring spirit continue to inspire generations. Today, we also discuss the eerie parallels between the assassinations of Kennedy and Abraham Lincoln, adding another layer of intrigue to these historical events. Thank you for joining us in exploring the remarkable and often tragic stories of these great leaders. If you found this video insightful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more captivating historical content. Don't forget to hit the bell icon to stay updated with our latest videos. We appreciate your support and would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about the similarities between Lincoln and Kennedy's assassinations? Let us know. See you in the next video, and thank you for watching.